Don't give up. Don't give up on Canada. Don't give up on your government. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your relationship. Just don't give up.
If there's one thing that is a hallmark trait about conservatives, is that conservatives never give up. No matter how hopeless things may seem, there is always a path back, whether it be elections or your life in general. And a person that embodies this spirit is back with us today to talk about her experience and also a private member's bill that she sponsored. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kelly DeRidder back to Northern Perspective.
Thank you.
So Kelly, you stood up in the House not too long ago and you talked about your experience. You told about this off camera, and it really is, it's almost like a movie in some respects, in how far away you were from even a normal life, and you've managed to work all the way back from where you were now into, the center of governance in the halls of Parliament. Just talk us through what that was like, where you were, and how you found the strength to get through it.
Um, so it can be hard to talk about sometimes, but I think it's just really important to share the story, my personal story of how you can, struggle, but then you can conquer and then you can change your life and you can do different things. Um, the reason why I think it's so important that I share my stories is because the narrative in this country right now of people are addicted, let's just keep them there. Let's just give them drugs, give them paraphernalia, give them what they need to be kept in the clutches of addictions is not okay, because we don't have to be. We do not have to be kept in the clutches of addiction. And for me personally, and I know the story is true with a lot of others, is that the root cause of addiction is trauma. All of our stories are different. It's a different level of trauma. It's all different, but it's trauma. It's our personal trauma that we have to work through to be properly healed and rehabilitated. And that was my story, is that I had my own trauma very young. Um, I fell into addiction very young in high school. I made terrible choices that I even had to personally own. You have to own your choices. You have to own your decisions to get out of it. And you have to heal that trauma. And I did that. And that's literally all you have to do to get out of the clutches of addiction, is just heal the trauma. And so I decided, at 21, that that wasn't the life for me anymore. I was literally in a trap house. That's what I call them, drug dens, trap houses. And I was looking around and it's dirty and gross and like, what am I doing? This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing while I'm here. And so I just decided I'm going to change. And I did. And I went to school to keep my mind occupied. I had no idea what I wanted to do, actually. I applied for early childhood education, radio, broadcast, and television, or mechanical engineering, specializing in robotics and automation, because that sounded so cool. And the only thing that I was accepted to was the robotics and automation. So that became my path. And sometimes you don't know your path. You just got to take that step. And then I completed my schooling and built a career for myself, and then decided that I wanted to do this crazy thing and blow up my life, run for parliament. And here we are
And
today.
and it wasn't an easy time early in your life, right? You were homeless. You were on park benches, and
It was.
there's a specific park that you remember, maybe not fondly, but importantly.
So Victoria Park is where I've slept. When I was in the clutches of addiction, it was a very different world at that time too. I didn't sleep in the open. Like, there's a little forest sort of area in the back of the park. And it wasn't on the park benches. It was hiding. Like, it was a very different world. There were no tent cities. There were no open drug use. Like, it was very hidden when you had addiction issues. There were a few people that the community always knew at that time, and most homeless had names, and the community took care of them. And like, there was the few that were out in general public, but it wasn't the norm. And so, like, the community didn't know me as living in tent city, didn't know me on those streets. I was young and I was trying to navigate my path. And in Victoria Park, back hidden, I had slept a couple of nights and I stayed at Mary's Place, which was downtown Kitchener at the time. It doesn't exist anymore, but that was the women's shelter downtown at the time. And I just, you make these choices and you end up where you end up. And then you have to make different decisions for yourself. And I do think of Victoria Park very fondly, actually, because I have great childhood memories in Victoria Park as well. You used to be able to skate on the lake there. And so I would go with my mom and we would skate on the lake. And Victoria Park has this symbolic, um, it's a piece of me because I have great childhood memories there. I was also homeless there, and now I'm the member of parliament representing that park. So, Victoria Park is a beautiful part of my past. Um, I'm never gonna feel regret for my past because it's made me who I am today. And I actually am very proud of what I've overcome and the trauma that I've healed and what I've walked through to be the person that I am today. So, um, anybody who's kept in the clutches of addiction right now, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. You've made some choices, you are where you are, but you can totally change it and become a completely different person. And there's this big, beautiful life on the other side of addiction that you just have to walk through your healing and your trauma to get to the other side of it.
And, I think a lot of people are feeling, some hopelessness in Canada right now.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily in addiction, but they're in a spot where, they're getting further and further behind on their bills, or, they're struggling with relationships or things like that. Um, these are the stories that I think are really important to be told, because it demonstrates that no matter how far you fall, you can always climb back up that mountain.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so, there's a couple of things that I would say to anybody who feels that they're, falling right now, is sometimes you need to fall to build. It's actually a part of life. It's like a cycle, right? Is you have to fall to build. And we've all been through those cycles, but like, don't give up. Don't give up on Canada. Don't give up on your government. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your relationship. Just don't give up. Push through and grow from your fall, and and just have hope for your future, because you're not going to be there forever. This isn't going to be forever. None of it ever is forever. And so you can change where you're at today, again, by just taking a step forward, just one step forward to get out of whatever it is that you're going through right now. I know it can seem hopeless for a lot of people, especially, if you're choosing between gas and groceries right now. Um, and I get that. I absolutely get that it's a struggle for a lot of Canadians right now. But again, I'm saying this isn't going to be forever. We are going to change this, and Canada will become the Canada that we knew before again.
So you've recently sponsored a private members bill in the House of Commons that is geared towards helping addiction, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's Bill C-240, and it's introducing rehabilitation into incarceration. And while I would love to see rehabilitation before incarceration, this is what I can do on a federal level right now to start changing paths and breaking cycles and doing things a little differently. So right now, programs do exist in institutions. There's mental health, there's some supports, but there's no real accountability to make sure that those supports are given specifically as a part of a plan for inmates, as well as an inmate to partake in those services that exist today. So what this bill does is it makes it judge prescribed. And when you make it judge prescribed, it puts accountability both on the institution and the inmate to take part in the rehabilitation plan. And so in that there's mental health services, skills, education training, just rehabilitation in general for people. So it's at least starting a path to break cycles. We're the only country in the G7 right now that incarcerates for just time, regardless of behavior, regardless just time. So we don't concentrate at all on breaking a cycle, on providing someone an opportunity to do different in their life when they come out, not just fall into the same cycles and repeat the same patterns. And so that's what I want to do is create in Canada a path where people can do different with their lives.
So when you were preparing this bill, I imagine you talked to many folks, both in the corrections institution as well as perhaps inmates. Is there evidence that going through a program like this will help reduce the odds that somebody will wind up back in prison?
So there is data that suggests that, you know, people won't repeat the same cycles when they get the supports that they need. But again, we don't really have a fulsome program in our institutions. You know, we have needle exchanges, we have safe supply rooms where people can shoot up in our institutions. And to me, that isn't, how is that helping people break a cycle that got them there in the first place? And so, and also, how can you have drug use next to people who are wanting to change their lives and heal? There cannot be the same thing in one place. There cannot be. And I know that personally from my own story. I relapsed 13 years after becoming sober because it was literally in front of me. So I couldn't imagine if it was there in front of me every single day when I'm trying to heal. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. I know I wouldn't have had the strength. I wouldn't have had the healing. I wouldn't have had the time. You know, when I relapsed those 13 years later, luckily I had healed and I had the time and I had, you know, had processed everything. And the next morning there was more of, oh my God, what did I do? Than falling back into that life, right? But if it was right there in front of me in that moment when I was first taking those few steps, I probably wouldn't have healed today. I wouldn't be the person that I am today because people don't understand the amount that drugs takes over. People just don't understand how you can love and hate something so much at the same time because it takes you away, but it's destroying your life and you know it. But you're powerless until you decide that you want to make change. And so in institutions, it's a perfect opportunity for people to be like, wait a minute, kind of like I was in that trap house. Is this the life I want? Looking around, is this the life that I truly want? And if it isn't, then there's these resources for you to change it, not next to the thing that brought you there. And so this is what we need to change.
Well, and that comes back to actual rehabilitation. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's, you know, years ago, there was, you know, a stigma about mental health. There was a stigma about addiction. I think because of I would say the far left liberal policies, it has swung the pendulum way too far in the other direction where, you know, we have safe consumption sites where it's okay for adults to watch kids, you know, shoot up and not intervene. And we have taxpayer funded narcotics that are just being distributed. We have pharmaceutical companies that are benefiting. It's actually now on their bottom line, and it's based on their profit margin to actually have people that are addicted out there. Do you think that if this was the approach that was taken back when you were trying to recover, do you think you would have ever made it out?
No. And that's part of my messaging is that addiction isn't a business. It isn't at the end of the day. And it actually destroys me on the inside to know that it has become on some level a business, and keeping people in the clutches of addiction is actually profiting some people. And that to me is unbelievable. These people are the one that need to go to jail, is that, they're trying to, make money off of vulnerability. And that is not okay. It is not okay. And, I remember even, this is how things have changed so much, is that you actually, I think, just put out, a podcast on there's a way to safely snort now. I just
Yes.
saw it very quickly, and I'm like, whoa, what? So let's educate people on how to do drugs instead of educate people on why they shouldn't do drugs. Like, do you guys remember when we were younger, this is your brain on drugs? And it was
Yes,
that frying pan?
I was thinking about that this morning.
What happened to that? Like, why are we not educating our children and educating people of the harm of drugs instead of how to safely do them? This isn't okay. We are creating a society of addicts in our messaging that just, well, you're going to do it, so here's how to safely do it. No, like, this is what's going to happen to you. The brain damage, especially the drugs today, are very different than even when I was an addict. Like, they destroy brain quicker. They're so much more harmful to your physical self. They cause psychotic
Breaks, yeah.
breaks more than the drugs. So why are we saying as a society, oh, it's okay, just do it. Here's how to do it, instead of, this is the harms of it. This is what life is like on the streets. For example, people don't talk about what's actually happening in these 10 cities. And it's human trafficking of young girls who are kept in addiction is happening in these 10 cities every single day. But it's okay. But it's okay because we're not seeing it as a part of the problem. And so, but this is we need, do you want to be trafficked? Do do you want your brain destroyed in time? This is the education that we have to give our children, not a pamphlet that says, here's how to snort cocaine.